convention will hold on the 26th of March. I'm not only a youth leader or an interim spokesperson, I'm also a lawyer. And we have served a notice to INEC for the 26th of February. Earlier, we served that notice on the 5th of February. And that was the required 21 days. If you are going to make any adjustment to that date, all you need is a letter making an adjustment to a date. You don't need another 21 days. And that letter was since written about 2 weeks ago when we realized that we couldn't hold it on the 26th of March, no, on the 26th of February. The moment the CECPC agreed on the 26th of March, that letter was written to INEC, it was effected. INEC have accepted that letter, so that is long gone. It's not an issue. The issue of the date of convention is not in question, not in INEC, not certainly with us. So that's settled. It's sacrosanct, that date of 26th of March, and we have complied with all the rules, and we have notified INEC as appropriately expected for us to do that. So that's no longer an issue.
And that's some of the matters we'll be discussing this morning. Don't forget that most of the pages, most of the front pages had something around the president saves Buni, and Buni is to conduct the March 26 convention of the All Progressives Congress, the ruling party. There have been questions as to what was going to happen given the development of last week when it was seen that another caretaker chairman emerged. It's not clear if he was called that, but when he was asked about the whereabouts of the erstwhile caretaker chairman, he said he's not aware of what position he holds in the party, and said much later that he traveled. That's all he's aware of. Then much later, we heard from other governors who said that the president had expressly asked Governor Abubakar Bello of Niger State to conduct the convention. But it does look like there have been problems with that. Legally speaking, and INEC has raised a flag on that. That's part of the clarification which a member of the caretaker committee, Ismail Ahmed, was trying to give there. We have this morning with us Mr. Festus Okoye, who is a lawyer himself, and also a national commissioner, voter education at INEC. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Well, you listened to one of the members of the APC caretaker committee, and he was saying that if they were just going to notify you, all they had to do was send a letter. They didn't have to wait another 21 days for that notification. Is it a position INEC agrees with?
Well, I think that there has been some misunderstanding relating to these issues. There are two distinct issues involved here. There's the issue of the meeting of the National Executive Committee of the party, and then there's the issue of the National Convention of the party. Okay. These are two distinct issues. Now, in relation to the issue of the National Convention of the political party, when the APC fixed their national convention for the 26th day of February 2022, they duly gave the Independent National Electoral Commission the requisite and mandatory 21 days notice. When they shifted the convention to the 26th day of March 2022, they also notified the commission of the fact that they were shifting their national convention. So there are no issues relating to that, and we never raised any issue relating to that. Now, the party wrote to the commission on the 8th day of March 2022, stating the fact that they were going to hold a National Executive Committee meeting. And that letter was not signed by the national chairman of the party and was not signed by the national secretary of the party.
Who was it signed by?
It was signed by several persons, around 8 or 9. In fact, I came along with the letter. And none of them indicated the fact that he or she was the national chairman or national secretary of the party. And we said, look, going by our own procedures, regulations and guidelines, letters to the party are jointly signed by the national chairman and the national secretary of the party. Because we normally demand that the moment political parties conduct their internal elections, that the specimen signature of the national chairman and the national secretary must be domiciled with the Independent National Electoral Commission. And so that when they write to the commission, we can cross-check to be sure that the letter that has come to the commission was duly signed and comes from proper custody. So that was exactly what we did. And so we wrote back to the party saying, look, this letter we have was not signed by the national chairman and national secretary of your party. Please do the needful and comply. That is one. Secondly, since the letter was not signed by the national chairman and the national secretary, we also drew the attention to the provisions of section 82 of the Electoral Act. And we had to draw the attention to that fact because since the letter was not signed by the national chairman and was not signed by the national secretary, we presumed that something was going on. And by the provisions of the same section 82, when you have to effect a change of whatever nature in your governance structure, you must notify the commission and you must give the commission a period of 21 days. You must give the commission 21 days notice. And that's what the law says. And the same section 82 says that if you do not give the commission this requisite notice in terms of change in your governance structure, that whatever you do is invalid. That's the provision of section 82, subsection 3 of the Electoral Act 2022. So I think that the legal advisors of some of the political parties need to sit down, take a second look at the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022 and advise their political parties accordingly. Because I have read so many commentaries, read so many opinions relating to what the Independent National Electoral Commission did. And people are talking about convention. Section 82 talks about convention, congress, or meetings convened for the purposes of either electing members of the executive committee or other governing structures of the party, or for purposes of party primaries. So it is not exclusive. So if you are organizing a meeting and you touch your governance structure, you must give us 21 days notice. If you do not, whatever you do is completely invalid. And the provisions of section 82 are couched in mandatory terms, that this is mandatory, you must do it. If you do not do it, whatever you do is invalid. And so on the part of the Independent National Electoral Commission, we did what was required of us under the law, because the Constitution gives us the power and gives us the authority to monitor the organization and operation of political parties. In other words, we regulate political parties.
So I'm just wondering, you've said that the commission has, political parties have to give the commission 21 days notice.
Yes.
In the event that a chairman, for instance, is ill or his secretary is ill, what should happen in that instance? The
party must notify the commission.
Okay.
Because the party must notify the commission, because the person, in our regulations, the letters to the commission are not signed only by the chairman and not signed by only the secretary. Both of them must jointly sign. So if there's any issue relating to the governance structure of a political party, the political party must notify the commission that they have this challenge and that this is the person who is going to act in the absence of their national chairman.
And you need 21 days for that?
No, not necessarily. But the commission must be aware.
Okay. I'm just wondering, I mean, if there was any room for any provision for, you know, for illness and stuff.
No, if a national chairman is ill and the political party notifies the commission that the national chairman is ill and the vice chairman, north or south, or the deputy chairman is going to be overseeing the affairs of the commission for some time, that is understandable. In which case, we will demand to have the specimen signature of the person who is acting. But if there's going to be a change in terms of the structure, if, for instance, you are going to remove your national chairman and then say, oh, the deputy is going to act, or anything of that sort, you must give us that 21 days notice. That's exactly the purport of Section 82. If you look at the wordings of Section 82, subsection 3 of the Electoral Act, it says, the election of members of the executive committee or other governing body of a political party, including the election to fill a vacant position in any of the aforesaid bodies, shall be conducted in a democratic manner and allowing for all members of the party or duly elected delegates to vote in support of a candidate of their choice. Now, Section 82, subsection 5 says, failure of a political party to notify the commission as stated in subsection 1 shall render the convention, congress, conference or meeting invalid. And that's exactly the point we're making.
Is this a new provision?
It's not entirely a new provision, but it's been recouched in such a way to make some of these things mandatory.
The reason I, excuse me, the reason I ask is because some people have also questioned the legality or otherwise of the APC caretaker committee in the first instance. Does INEC have any problem? Are you bothered with the internal workings of a political party? Or however the chairman emerges is not really any of your business, just make sure you give us 21 days notice in the event of any change.
Well, the law is very, very clear. And it says that the running of political parties is within the internal realm of the political party. Now, but if a political party is going to change its a national executive committee, it must do it in a democratic manner, giving the delegates or members of the political party the right to vote in such things. And it is for the Independent National Electoral Commission to monitor such processes and also monitor such procedures to make sure that the provisions of the law are complied with. So, based on the constitution of each political party, they have means and methods of electing their party members, but such methods must conform to the provisions of the Constitution and also conform to the provisions of the law.
Let's flip this to Lagos. I understand my colleagues have questions for you.
Oh, we most certainly do have questions for Mr. Okoye-Markwa, but just before then, let's take you to international wing of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, where Emperor Simon, our colleague, is standing right by now, as more Nigerians from Ukraine have arrived via Romania. Good morning, Emperor. It's early morning, isn't it? Give us the updates. What do you have?
Yeah, thank you very much. We are at the international wing of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, where 31 evacuees from Ukraine have arrived Nigeria aboard a Turkish airline. We were told that the airline arrived at about 6:30 a.m. this morning. Contrary to our expectation that it was going to be at the regular point where the evacuees that have arrived so far, landed. These ones are coming, like I said, they're arriving at the international wing of the airport, which makes it a bit difficult for us that we're not able to get the arrival, the disembarkment from the flight and the regular activities that take place on their arrival, such as the COVID-19 testing, the documentation, and other procedures that the previous sets have had to follow. But we have been told by officials of the Foreign Affairs Ministry who were here with us earlier on that 31 evacuees are arriving this morning. So that's the much we have in terms of those who are arriving. And just like you said, they are coming from Romania. These, I believe, would be the second set of evacuees that will be coming from Romania. The first set, of course, was from Romania, over 400 of them. And the subsequent batches that have come came from Poland and from Hungary. This set, which is the seventh set or the seventh batch in the series of batches that have come from Ukraine.
Emperor, so go ahead now. So that's the update that we have now. The question one would be wondering is, do we have access to them?
I don't know if you...
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Emperor.
Yeah. Okay, you said, do we have what?
Do we have access to them? Are you able to?
You asked.
Are you able to locate them? Are you able to look at them? We have the number, but
yeah,
unlike previous ones, so you were able to show us, okay, these are the people that arrived and all of that, and the documentation process, etc.
Yeah, so that's the point. Like I said earlier on, this particular batch are not coming through the regular, arrival point where we used to cover them. That's the Arch Terminal. These ones are coming through the international airport, and because of the the international wing of the airport, and because of the protocol in place, we're not allowed to go inside the arrival hall where we would have been taking them, would have taken them as they arrived, and then see them disembark from the flight, their luggages being packed, and then going through the procedure of being tested for COVID-19 and being documented for other purposes. This time around, as I have said, we do not have that opportunity of seeing them one-on-one. But earlier on, officials from the Foreign Ministry, that's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, were with us, and we were actually supposed to have them for an interview, but the representative had to go back in and clear a few things with them. So we're hoping that when he comes out, he will give us more information about this latest evacuation. It's not a chartered flight. This is not a chartered flight where the federal government chartered a flight to bring the evacuees. These ones are coming, have come on board Turkish airline. And what we heard earlier on was that they came on self-sponsorship. But that's one thing perhaps that the official of the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs would be clearing with us as soon as they are here. And like I said, 31 of them have arrived from Romania, and we're yet to see them to ascertain their condition, their emotional state, as it were, with the previous batches that have arrived.
Well, we'll definitely wait, Emperor, for more details. Didn't sound like Turkish Airlines was one of those airlines listed by government for the evacuation. But thank you most kindly for the reporting, and we expect more from you as soon as you have them. Well, now that's that. Joyous news. 31 more Nigerians back from Ukraine, away from danger. Back to this conversation with Mr. Okoye. Well, one of the issues a number of people want to ask, you've tried to clear the fact that in the event of the question that Malkwe raised, that should the chairman or the secretary be indisposed, who will sign that letter that will inform INEC of the situation? And that, I believe that you have answered succinctly. But do you want to be clear on that? Is there a provision of the law that makes it clear that this is the person that can sign that letter to inform INEC that the chairman and the secretary are indisposed? You said about 9 people signed that letter, and as far as INEC is concerned, it's invalid.
Well, according to our regulations for political party operations, when a political party has conducted this election to its National Executive Committee or other governing body, that particular political party is supposed to write to the Independent National Electoral Commission, informing the commission of the election of members of its National Executive Committee and informing the commission of those who have been duly elected. Now, the letter will also indicate who has been elected as the chairman and who has been elected as the secretary of the party. And then we document them and then put their specimen signature in our docket. Now, if the national chairman is indisposed, for instance, we expect that the national secretary of the party will write to the commission saying, oh, the chairman is indisposed. And we also expect that if the secretary is indisposed, one of the national chairman will also write to the commission stating that particular fact. But the truth of the matter is that, and the obvious thing is that there must be a member of the party who will write to the commission saying, oh, our national chairman and national secretary are indisposed. But you know that in relation to the party in question, the issues are slightly very, very clear. Especially, I think you understand why the commission had to raise the red flag. Because if we have a national chairman of a party and a national secretary of a party in place, and then suddenly we get a letter signed by over 10 members of the party without the national chairman and without the national secretary, it was incumbent on the commission to ask questions and seek for clarifications, and also ask the political party to do the needful in relation to compliance. So that's exactly what we have done. I do not see the difficulty in this. If a national chairman is proceeding on leave, for instance, he has to write to the commission saying, look, I'm proceeding on leave, and in my absence, the deputy national chairman will act in my state. That is the standard procedure. And all the political parties have been complying with these procedures.
No letter sent to INEC concerning that, Mr. Okoye.
Party operations.
The understanding we have is that there was some communication from the chairman that INEC recognizes late Friday evening that, okay, this is the position, and maybe somebody is standing in.
Well, I have seen that a copy of that memo, and I saw that a copy of that memo from the media. That memo is supposed to be an internal memo of the party, and political parties do not forward to us their internal memos. There are procedures and there are channels through which political parties communicate to the commission, and I want to state unequivocally that that particular memo was not copied to the commission, and there was no communication from the political party to the Independent National Electoral Commission stating the fact that the national chairman was proceeding on leave or on vacation and that somebody else was going to act on his behalf. We didn't receive any of that. We didn't receive that communication.
So if you had received such communication, would it then be clear as to, okay, whether or not this NEC meeting will happen?
Well, we are not talking of whether the NEC meeting will happen or not. What is in issue here is that if somebody is if the national chairman is proceeding on vacation, on medical vacation, for instance, and writes to the commission saying, look, I'm proceeding on vacation, and in my absence, the deputy national chairman will act and exercise all the powers that are exercisable by me. That will be understandable. And the implication is that whatever meeting that is called in relation to that will be valid. But the Section 82 of the Electoral Act 2022 still makes it very clear that you can have a meeting of your National Executive Committee and the Commission will monitor it. But if there is going to be any form of change in your governance structure, you must give the Commission 21 days notice.
Okay,
but
so let me get this clear.
If you are just going to discuss
Mr.
your national
Okoye.
convention and modalities of the party, we don't need 21 days.
Okay, so just to be clear, INEC is not saying that APC cannot hold that NEC. Am I right?
No, we are not saying that.
Okay, so APC can go ahead to hold that NEC that they're planning to hold.
Definitely, it is within their realm, it is within their power to go ahead with the meeting of their National Executive Committee, because it is within their domestic realm, it's within their party organization and operations to hold a meeting. But
okay,
if during that meeting you touch the governance structure of the party, or there is any form of change of leadership, if you are going to do that, you must give us 21 days notice, and you must comply with the intendment and provisions of the law.
Now, the nature of this NEC meeting, according to APC's notice, is an emergency NEC meeting, and I imagine same for caretaker, for example. I mean, it's not clearly spelled out anywhere that there should be. In fact, in the APC's constitution, there's no mention of caretaker, but that's what they have, and that's what they've been using. So, I mean, it was perhaps a a necessity thing. They had to put it in place as a stopgap measure. So now that they're meant to have this emergency NEC meeting, by the nature of it, it's an emergency, something called to shelve perhaps further breakdown. Is that understandable within the laws that, okay, perhaps there needs to be some concession since this one is an emergency NEC meeting?
Well, I was not there when the National Assembly passed the Electoral Act, and then I was not there when the President assented to it. But if you look at Section 82, the entire provision of Section 82, all of them are couched in mandatory terms. And there is no place in Section 82 where the issue of an emergency meeting is mentioned. What Section 82 says is that if you are going to have your convention, if you're going to have a meeting, if you are going to have a congress where you are going to tamper with your governance structure, you must give the commission 21 days notice of that fact. If there's a vacancy in your governance structure and you are going to fill that particular vacancy, you must give the commission you must give the commission 21 days notice. Section 82, the provisions of Section 82 are couched in mandatory terms, and it says that if you don't give us that 21 days notice and you go ahead to fill that particular vacancy, whatever you do is invalid. And I think that not only that, political parties must also bear in mind and also take cognizance of the provisions of Section 77 of the same Electoral Act. Section 77 of the Electoral Act makes it mandatory that every registered political party in Nigeria must and shall have a register of all its members, and that before the political party can conduct any congress, can conduct any convention, or conduct party primaries, both the hard and soft copy of that party membership register must be made available to the Independent National Electoral Commission.
Okay, that is taken, but we're due for a break right now. I know INEC is in the middle of a lot of political issues in the country right now. So we'll go to break and come back to some of these other issues, big ones, I must say. So please stay with us. You know, it's a pre-election year, and there's always lots of intrigues within political parties, at the courts, and, you know, everywhere else in between. And we're continuing our conversation with Mr. Festus Okoye, who's the National Commissioner of INEC. Well, Mr. Okoye, thank you for staying with us. So let's switch gears now and talk about that other big one. And this one concerns the judgment regarding the governorship seat of Ebonyi State. As of the last time, INEC said, in fact, you had said on behalf of INEC, that the Commission had not received that judgment of Justice Inyangekwo of the Federal High Court, Abuja. Have you received the judgment now?
Well, as at Friday evening, when I left the office, the Commission had not received that particular judgment. But as of Saturday morning, a copy of that particular judgment was made available to me in my own personal capacity as a lawyer, and I've read that particular judgment. But in relation to the Commission, the judgment has not been served on the Commission. My presumption is that since the judgment is already in circulation, that there's a possibility that the judgment will be served on the Commission today.
Well, you'd expect that INEC, who is a party, at least in that case, so has been talked about, will get it first before any other person. And it raises questions about how long it typically takes for INEC to receive such judgment, especially if it's, you know, I mean, important issues. But perhaps we'll talk about that. But seeing that you have at least looked through that judgment, some say it's quite clear. For some others, it is not clear. But from what you have seen, is it a straightforward judgment regarding what INEC needs to do now?
Well, I will not at this point in time speak for the Commission or on behalf of the Commission in relation to what the Commission will do. But our processes and our procedures in relation to judgments, orders, and decisions of courts of law are quite clear, and it's in the public domain. One, there is no judicial division of the High Court or the Federal High Court in the Independent National Electoral Commission. And we don't have any court of appeal in the Independent National Electoral Commission. Our remit and our mandate is to give effect to judgments, orders, and decisions of properly constituted courts of law. And that is what Section 287 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has mandated us to do. When we receive a certified true copy of a judgment, what we basically do is to understand what the court has asked us to do in terms of the orders that have been made, and also in terms of the consequential orders that have been made. And then we give effect to it. Now, if there has been an appeal relating to that particular judgment, we note that appeal. If there are motions for stay of execution, we note those motions. If there are specific orders for stay that have already been made, we also take that into consideration. If there are two competing court orders or two competing decisions, then we look at the latest in time and we follow it. So when the Commission receives the formal certified true copy of this particular judgment, we will look at all these variables. But I know that as of Friday, the Commission received a bundle of documents relating to notices of appeal, judgments from the High Court in Abakaliki, and then some other motions and orders and so on. So at the end of the day, we will look at all these things comprehensively and then take a decision that accords with the national interest, and also take the decision that gives vent to the orders of the various courts of law.
Well, Mr. Okoye, you are sitting as INEC Commissioner right now, but I'll ask you two questions.
Yes.
One as INEC Commissioner and one as a lawyer. But let me ask you, first of all, as National Commissioner. Has INEC received that letter from the PDP, the options?
Yes, we have received, we got a letter from the PDP drawing, and that letter was signed by the national chairman and the national secretary of the party. They drew attention to the fact that there has been a judgment in favor of the political party. They also drew our attention to the fact that they have submitted in that particular letter the name of the person they want to be the governor and the deputy governor of Ebonyi State. And they also cited Section 287 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and asked the Independent National Electoral Commission to comply with the said judgment. So we received that letter, yes.
Well, I'm just wondering how INEC received that one when that is like a follow-up to a letter that you have not received. Now, speak to us, Mr. Festus Okoye, legal practitioner. What's your reading of that judgment?
Well, if you refer to me as a legal practitioner and you want to consult me, that means you have to pay the necessary legal fees, and then I will process your request and make a determination whether I need to give you free legal advice or whether you have to pay for the legal advice that I'm going to give. But in truth, I have read the judgment. I have seen all the declarations that have been made in relation to that particular judgment. I have also looked at the consequential orders that the court has made. And I think that the orders, the declarations and the consequential orders are clear. But it is left for the Independent National Electoral Commission as a body to take a decision relating to the issue of compliance. But as I've pointed out, we do not sit on appeal over any judgment, and we do not interpret any judgment. What we do is that the moment the intent of the judgments are quite clear, and we understand what the court has asked us to do, we go ahead and comply. If anybody is interested in going on appeal, that particular person will go on appeal, but we do not sit on as an appellate court because we do not have that interpretative powers. The judicial powers of the Federation under Section 6 of the Constitution are vested in the courts established by the Constitution. So our own remit is to give vent to judgments of court and also to enforce judgments of properly constituted courts of law.
Well, there have been conversations that what happened from the Federal High Court here in Abuja was a declaratory judgment, and that it ought to have taken immediate effect. Did INEC read it that way?
Well, it was a declaratory judgment, and there are also consequential orders that were made therein. Now, you will agree with me that it will be a tragedy when the commission begins to enforce judgments of course based on hearsay or based on social media reports or even based on newspaper reports because the way we will look at a particular judgment may not be the way somebody who is not trained in the law will look at it. When we receive a copy of the certified true copy of a judgment, first of all, it goes to the national chairman of the, it goes to our chairman. Then from there, it goes to the legal department. And in our legal department, we have 3 senior advocates of Nigeria in our legal department, and we have a galaxy of legal practitioners there. Then they will advise the INEC committee in charge of legal matters and clearance. And in that committee, we have 2 lawyers who we are called to the bar in 1985. And we also have a senior advocate of Nigeria and a professor of law in that particular committee, and then 3 other national commissioners.
What I want to know is how long does it usually take to transmit a judgment of court to INEC?
No, it has absolutely nothing to do with us. Now, if you look, as I'm going to talk to you as a lawyer, now what happens is that when a judge delivers a particular judgment, if it is written in longhand, it has to go to the secretary of the judge or to the registrar to type it. Thereafter, it goes back to the judge. The judge has to proofread it to be sure that what has been typed conforms to what has been what has been delivered. Thereafter, it is certified, and then anybody can apply and get a certified true copy of the judgment. And now, in relation to this particular matter, since we have a plaintiff and we have a defendant, it is their responsibility to obtain a copy of this judgment. The judgment I have read, and I need to be honest about it, the judgment I have read did not indicate who represented the Independent National Electoral Commission before the Federal High Court. So in that particular instance, I cannot say with certainty that we have gone to go and obtain a copy of the judgment. But I'm certain that since the judgment is already in the public domain, that those who are interested in the outcome of the judgment will definitely serve the commission with a copy of the judgment at least today.
Okay, so until you receive the judgment today, you are not very clear on what the next action of INEC will be.
The moment we receive the judgment, we have received the notices of appeal and we have received other court orders from one of the interested parties. The moment we receive it, the chairman will make a determination on when we are going to hold a meeting of the commission to consider the judgment and the judgments and all the other surrounding issues relating to it. And then we take a position and then we communicate to the parties involved and also communicate to the Nigerian people because it's already in the public domain.
I see you're holding a copy of the Electoral Act 2022.
Yes.
The new Electoral Act. I'm sure that INEC is gearing up already for the elections in 2023. Do you envisage any, that is, of course, you still have the off-season elections to conduct before that time. But do you anticipate any hitches? Are you, is all looking good to go for now?
Well, it's all looking for good to go, but there are also issues that we really need to be sure about. Now, in relation, one of the big issues that the new Electoral Act has made is to remove issues around pre-election matters from the High Courts and the Federal and the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, and it has domiciled it with the Federal High Court. Now, we need to get back to the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court relating to having a practice direction that makes it possible for issues and cases to be determined where the cause of action arose, so that we do not have the same situation where a political party will conduct its party primaries in Anambra, and then issues around the party primaries will be determined by a Federal High Court in Borno State. We need to have a practice direction that enables some level of order and some level of certainty to be embedded in the operations of the various courts as we proceed towards this contentious period in our electoral process.
So that's the only hitch you're saying for now?
I'm not, you know, the Electoral Act has just come into force. And there are so many issues that have been embedded in the new Electoral Act. We also need to begin what I call robust training of our staff in relation to some of the issues that have been embedded in the new Electoral Act, in relation to when results are transmitted and how they are transmitted, when we have conflict between the manually transmitted result and the electronically transmitted result, how collation is going to be done. These are issues that we are going to make a determination on, and these are issues we are going to deal with as we proceed. But one fundamental thing that bothers the Commission is the fact that since the new Electoral Act has changed the trajectory of collation and the trajectory of transmission of election results to the polling units, in some of the off-season elections we have conducted, we have noticed that violence has gradually left the collation centers back to the polling units. And the Commission is really, really concerned about that. So we are going to have a high-level consultation, especially with the security agencies, on how to protect our staff, especially at the level of the polling units, because the political parties know that results are now transmitted directly from the polling units to the first level of collation, and that those transmitted results will also be used for purposes of collation, and that if there's a discrepancy between the manually collated results and the electronically transmitted results, that the beavers will be called into question in terms of interrogating it to get the actual figure of those who were accredited. So we are looking at all these variables, and we are taking them on board, and we are preparing for the 2020 regional election.
Well, Mr. Festus Okoye, we have to thank you very much for coming this Monday morning. He's the National Commissioner, INEC, and also the Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee at the same commission. Thank you so much for coming on this morning.
I appreciate this opportunity.
Well, we'll take a break at this point, and we're back to speak a little further to the issues within the APC. Please stay with us.